I speak to you as a commissioner, and in saying so, I would appreciate if all of us to understand the position of a commissioner of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We weren't individuals who live in the US, in the diaspora, or in Gambia, or people who were sleeping in Liberia as events unfolded. We weren't collaborators to the... If anything, we were all at one point in time or another victims of what has happened in Liberia. At the same time, we saw ourselves as advocates for change. We saw ourselves as being privileged and honored by our people to have been selected to participate on the commission. Because of the history of politics in Liberia and how public institutions are corrupted, the TRC process was determined to be independent. There was one commissioner chosen from the diaspora, and the rest of the commissioners were chosen from home in Liberia. Of the 9 commissioners, there were 4 women and 5 men to ensure gender balance or gender equity. There were journalists on the commission, there were housewives, there were nurses, there were psychosocial people, there were politicians, there were lawyers, to reflect the diversity of our Liberian situation so that different perspectives, different views, different experiences can impact the process we felt was very, very necessary. I also need to say that commissioners took with them the trust of the Liberian people. Liberians, by the time of the conflict in the TRC, have basically broken trust and confidence with public institutions. Until the TRC, there are very few commissions or public institutions you can point to that function according to their mandate and took very seriously the public interest of those who were concerned or involved. Because of that, commissioners were publicly vetted by the Liberian people. They weren't directly appointed by the governing authority. Out of a panel, a pool of nearly 200 persons, 9 persons were selected after a public vetting exercise. A final short list of 15 was presented to the head of state, and the head of state was required to appoint 9 persons out of the final slate of 15 from a pool of 189 plus. And those 9 persons, including myself and all the other commissioners, were appointed in that way. Following the appointment, as a further manifestation of the desire for independence, the 9 commissioners were asked to assemble in a single room and select their leaders. So I was chosen by my colleagues to chair the commission, and a female colleague was chosen to serve as vice chair. Follow to the independence of the commission, there are provisions of the TRC Act that the resources, the finances of the commission should become a matter of decision of the commission. We did our own planning, we formulated our own budget. Of course, we solicited technical and expertise assistance as much as we desired or that was possible. And the government was required to make the resources available necessary to the work of the Commission. In any transitional justice process, through commissions most especially, financial independence or general independence of the Commission is very, very crucial. And the situation in Liberia compelled us to be mindful of the environment under which we operate. There was a political environment we had to be very, very conscious of. There was a security environment we had to be very, very conscious of. Considering that the conflict had just recently ended, as compared to other transitional societies where there were lapses of time before they embarked upon the hard searching and kind of investigation we do. But no, the memories, the scars of the war was still very, very fresh in the minds of people. And beyond that, all transitional governments, including the elected government after the 2005 elections, had elements of people who participated in the war, people who led the war, people who financed the war, people who resourced the war, people who sat on board meetings and made decisions to go to war, to buy arms. And you know what happened. We had to be conscious of that environment. We also had to be conscious of the community of victims. And when I speak of victims, I speak of anything you can imagine of victimhood in Liberia. From women, to girls, to boys, to children, to youth, to adults, even the elderly. And they have concerns, they have needs, and they still do have expectations. As a commission, collectively, we have to be conscious of that. Typical of our African culture and the status of womanhood and motherhood in a very closed society like Liberia, a lot of women saw themselves victims, exposed and highly vulnerable, not because they were perpetrators or they held arms or they resisted a particular fashion or so, but sometimes out of the sheer need to survive, out of the sheer need to provide for your family. Since 1979 to 2003, I've been in Liberia and never left. I saw all the episodes of conflicts and war. And there are a lot of other commissioners who share similar experience. So we knew from whence we came. We knew that Liberia have to arrive at a point where we say departure with the past has to begin. We've seen cycles of conflicts, and the TRC mandate was compulsory that we should identify the root causes of conflict